Please.
Hello, loves. Welcome to Boss Please. I'm Megan, and I'm here with my girl bosses, Jill and Melinda. What's up, ladies? Hi. Did you guys have a good week?
Wait, what just happened?
I don't know. I totally just had a blonde moment. I'm so sorry, you guys. But regardless, that little bloop, whatever it was, we're going to have an amazing show. We have a guest. She is this phenomenal celebrity photographer. Her pictures are seriously amazing.
Yeah.
Google her right now before we have her on the show because it's like unreal. Unreal. Okay. How are you guys a boss this week? Melinda.
How was I a boss this week?
Do you want me to start with Jill so you can think about it?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you didn't come prepared. No, I'm just
I'm not
kidding.
prepared, y'all. I'm not prepared.
You're fine. Jill, how are your boss?
Listen, a boss is about thinking on their toes.
Exactly.
So we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
I was a boss this week by booking 2 more amazing guests for our podcast.
You are killing it, girl.
Hello.
We wouldn't be this podcast without you.
You know, we're just trying to make things happen, ladies. And actually, it's really awesome. Since we've launched, we have had so many wonderful women come to us wanting to be on the show.
I love that.
Which makes my heart so full and warm, and I know it makes you guys feel the same way too.
Absolutely.
The support is unreal. Thank you guys so much.
We hope you're enjoying our conversations and
Do you want
feeling
me-
more like a boss every week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Here
feel
you
like
go,
we're
'cause
in-
I'm still thinking.
I feel like we're in a groove. Like we're at a good point.
Yeah.
We're at a great point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, Megan, how are you a boss?
I am a boss because I'm just so excited that I've found rediscovered my love for writing, creative writing. And so I'm so lucky to have this freelance job with Sweetie High. Been writing lifestyle articles for them, and I'm just so happy with just the articles that I've been getting. Sorry, clap.
Megan's on one today, y'all.
You guys, I am such a mess. I am so sorry. Like, what am I talking about? No, but basically, like, I'm just thrilled that I have this job, and I'm so excited that I get to write, and it's so boss that I get to do it from home.
Yeah.
That's what's most bossed about it.
Yeah.
the best part.
Holla.
What
No
about you?
makeup, couch work.
Oh my gosh,
my
that's the
favorite.
best.
It's my favorite work.
Literally
It's the
end
best.
with this podcast too. Like, we don't even need to have
You
a
know,
face on.
yeah, if you guys saw us.
If you saw us, you guys would be like, oh my
We
gosh.
look
We're the
rough.
definition of comfortable.
And our guests always come in looking so cute. We're just
So
like,
done
hey,
up. And
how
then we
are
take
you?
a picture with them and we're like,
It's
yeah.
the worst. It's the worst. No, it's the best.
I was a boss this week because I didn't eat out once and I cooked every meal.
Hell yeah.
Oh.
That's
Yes.
exciting.
It is. I like saving money and I miss cooking. I love to cook, but I just sometimes being a boss, you don't have time to. So, yeah, that's how I was.
That
boss.
is boss.
I didn't really prep anything. Everything was kind of an impromptu meal, but I still made.
And
every
John
single
ate
thing.
all of it.
He
He
has
didn't
no
complain
choice.
about your vegan ways.
He does not.
And he doesn't have a choice.
He doesn't have a choice.
You got a good husband, girl.
I do.
Which brings me to my next thought.
Great
How do-
transition.
I know.
Yeah.
How do you guys balance having an awesome boss career and your social life?
I feel like I'm lagging in the dating game. I know, Melinda, you have a husband. You have an amazing boyfriend, Jill. I am the single one. And, I try to go out on dates. I really do. But at the same time, I'm having trouble finding guys that match my ambition. So at this point, I've honestly just like full focused on my career. And maybe that's a bad thing because I feel very unbalanced, to be honest. I feel like it's very career focused. And when I do find a guy I like, again, it's not balanced because I kind of put so much pressure on it to make it balanced where it doesn't really need to be at this point. I can be full on with my career. But I shouldn't just say dating. Also, too, my social life is not balanced, really. But that's more my fault because I am a grandma. And I could go out more if I wanted to, but just financially and those kind of reasons.
No, yeah, I totally get that because I will look at my bank account and cry. You think, I don't know, like maybe my parents definitely have the perception, like you move to Hollywood, you get a job, you suddenly make, I don't know, more than you would living where, you used to live with your parents. Like it's totally not the case. So like I can level with that. For me, balancing a social life, I can't even balance it because my hours are nuts. Like I've said it on here before. I wake up at 4:15. I'm out of here by 5. I also even wake up with enough time to make myself breakfast. So I have a non-existent social life. Thank God I met my boyfriend when I did because he is he is adapted. He is used to the schedule now. We joke, but I'm always come upstairs with me. And it's 7:45.
Oh,
That's a good man right there.
And he's like really good about it. Like he'll come and he'll lay with me for a little bit and then he'll come back downstairs. Or, you know, when he's working, he's out on set until late anyway. So our schedules are kind of opposite. But I have not found a balance. And Megan definitely knows.
But I do have to say, Jill, you've been doing better. I do feel like you've been saying yes more, you know, to going out, which is great. And
I have, but it's funny. Megan will be I love Megan because she's the first one to notice when there's a shift. And I had asked her to go to dinner with me last minute, and she couldn't believe it. She was like, wait, tonight? And I was like, yeah, girl, you want to go get some food? And it was a weeknight. It was a school night.
She killed it. I was like, yeah. Okay,
I think it's funny that we still measure our life by like school nights when none of us are in school anymore.
No. But I need to be able to focus, and if I don't get enough sleep, then I can't be the boss that I should be.
Of course.
So it's hard because like even when my schedule shifts an hour, it's a big difference for me.
Right.
So like if I decide to go out on a weekday, I'm shot the next morning, and I'm 2 coffees in, and then I'm start to wake up.
For sure.
I don't know. You guys have open schedules, more open than I do.
Yeah.
I think the easier thing for Melinda and I, because we have our own schedules and because we kind of do our own thing, I don't wake up. I should probably. I don't wake up at a certain time every day. It just depends.
Because
that's good.
But like I'm very regimented in that way.
I should be, but I'm not. But I can see how that makes a difference for you, Jill, because if you're used to your schedule, then any little bit that's thrown off, you're going to be tired.
Right.
I mean, yeah, so I have a pretty like strict schedule. It's pretty much the same throughout the week. Melinda, your schedule is like all over the place. So how do you find balance?
My social life is my work though. Like I perform with my friends. I gig with my friends. So that's the good thing. And that's why I'm like, hey, come see my show because I'm not going to hang out with you unless you're there. Sure. Basically, that's what happens. But if I do have social interactions, I usually have to be the one controlling it. I'm the Monica of the Friends situation, you know. So I will host the party. I will have the 4th of July, or I'll have the Memorial Day barbecue. And it's funny though because if I'm not planning something, I don't really get invited anywhere. But then and I'll text people and say that. I'll be like, oh, we just assumed you were already doing something, or well, you weren't doing anything, so I'm not doing anything. So I think it's very interesting. But yeah. I like to just stay by myself.
Are we boring girls? Are we all boring girls?
No, you get to a point where going out, there's so much effort.
We're just growing up.
You get to a point
we're
where
not fun anymore.
You work all day and then you work more for free making a podcast. Is that what type of girls we are?
Basically.
But going out there's so much effort. You have to find the outfit. You have to do your makeup and your hair, and then by the time you're doing all that, I'm exhausted.
My biggest thing is worrying about like parking. Or I know we can Uber now, but it's just like, oh my gosh, it's just like, ugh.
Right.
I know I have the parking anxiety. I tweeted out the other day. Like only I would be stressed out about finding parking for a meditation class.
I saw that. That's funny. That was very
That's fantastic.
Funny.
You guys, we're being kind of negative Nancy's though right now.
We
are fantastic.
We're being real.
We are being real.
We're being real. Everybody feels these things.
I think a lot of people would agree with us. I know there are those people that can rally and they can go out whenever, even if they've worked an entire day's work, and sort of that's how they unwind and they'd need less sleep. But, you know, for me, it's all about self-care. I feel like that's super important, but I'd be curious to know how our listeners balance work and social life. Yeah. So if you want to tweet us at BossPleasePod, I would love to hear, because I think all 3 of us need all the help we can get.
Let us know if we're insane, you guys, or if you can actually relate.
So we have an amazing guest coming up on the show, celebrity photographer Brie Childers. So fantastic of her to come on, her massively busy schedule. So stay tuned. We'll have that for you next. Welcome back, ladies. Now, we are so excited to have celebrity photographer Brie Childers in our studio today. She has photographed the likes of Kanye West, Christina Aguilera, Terrence Howard, John Stamos, have mercy, Olivia Munn, Tyga, Jeremy Renner, and that's just to name a few. So welcome, boss.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about a day in the life as a celebrity photographer.
Sorry, I'm really too honest. So a day in the life is probably not like shooting celebrities every day. A day in the life has a lot to do with trying to get the jobs where you get to shoot the celebrities.
Well, that's why
Gotcha.
you're a
Yeah,
boss. That's why you're
exactly,
here.
'cause you're getting those jobs for sure.
I'm like, a day in the life is a lot of like reaching out to people, sending new pictures, and then a day in the life of shooting is always really fun. Day in the life of shooting is like my drug.
That's amazing.
So yeah, and then it's always different. It can be in a studio, it can be at their house. I actually prefer it if it's at somebody's house. I like that environment. I like just being somewhere where it's like a chair, a window, something unpredictable, a horse, whatever it is. So and then it's almost funny. Like a day in the life of shooting is always like, well, you just get to go and like be creative, and whatever comes to you, like the weirder it is seems to be the better it is for certain people and not for everybody. But and so it's just about really like being in that zone. But it's hard to explain a day in the life because they're all so different. Like every day is different in my life, which I like.
Did
I
you
love that.
always want to be a professional photographer, or what, did it start off as a hobby and then you were like, wait, I'm good enough to make a living from this?
No, the opposite. I always was like, who is dumb enough to choose this as a hobby? Because when I was starting, like, it was expensive as hell to be a photographer. It was
Right.
like, film is expensive, processing is expensive. It was so time consuming and so expensive. And it's like, back in the day, I was like, why do people do this as a hobby? Who is so rich that they
Right.
have, and it's always the people with the vests and the equipment. And you're like, all right. I was like trying to get by with like one camera, one lens, one roll of film.
Yeah.
I didn't have money for this.
Totally.
But it was one of those weird things. I was in high school. I used to plaster my walls with like magazine pictures. I always knew celebrities. I was always knowing the supermodels' names. Nobody in my world ever picked up on like, there's $1 billion industry out there called fashion. Like nobody mentioned that to me. I was living in Tucson, Arizona, like trying to find a normal job. So when I went to this photography class, because I had no idea what I was doing, and I was like, well, I'll take photography and art and sewing and try to become Zach Posen, who didn't exist back then. And so it was like a first day of photo class, and the teacher, I don't know what she said, but I was like, oh, this is it. Like, that's why I was looking at those pictures my whole entire life. I didn't want to model. I wanted to take the
Right.
pictures.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
That's
So it was like
really
cool.
literally that moment, and
The
you
light bulb
remember
came
it.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's
first day
amazing.
of class, hadn't even taken a picture. I didn't even own a camera yet, hadn't bought one. So I don't know why
People
I was so
dream
sure.
of that moment.
Yeah.
So that is so amazing.
It's really weird. My husband's kind of jealous. He's like, most people don't know what their true love is.
Right.
And I've known forever. Like, it's just, I have often tried to talk myself out of this. There's a lot of like pain and frustration involved. And I've often been like, but this is me. It's almost like talking yourself out of like being a girl. Like,
Right.
this is me.
Of course.
All
Now,
the people-
along with your passion that you have for photography, you also had sort of mentioned fashion a little bit, and you have a really great sense of style. So are you taking the pictures and styling the shoots? Do you work with, both ends of that?
No, I mean, I've worked with such amazing stylists that it puts me to shame. And part of the reason why I have style is because I copied off of some really amazing stylists. Trish Somerville, if anybody knew who she is, oh my God, that woman just does it for me. Nikki Schwann, like there's a bunch of really good stylists out there that I've had the luxury of working with. And so they've inspired me, and through them over the years, I've gotten more confident about just being like, I do know what looks good and what doesn't. I don't have to keep pretending that something looks good when it doesn't, or the other way around. So, but normally it's not me doing the styling.
When you feel inspired, what do you do? Like, do you take a photo of something if you see something while you're out and you're like, oh, this would be a great place to shoot, or I love the coloring of this?
No, I have a journal that I've only lost once in my life. Thankfully, we found it. And so I will get inspired and go and draw the most ugly, hideous, awful, not even a third grader would want to claim this picture, that I at least know what I was talking about. I can't even draw like a piece of candy. But I know what, like, so my drawings do the work for me, and then I just take them to the shoot with me. And normally by the time it's on the paper, I don't even reference it again. It's already in my head.
You just know.
Yeah.
Damn.
That
That's
is
such a
really cool.
concept, yeah. In a way to,
I'm like,
So
I should
you
have brought
see
you some of
it.
these
Yeah.
You
beautiful
see
drawings.
it on the paper. You
That's
see the
really,
whole
really-
thing.
Well, I see it, and then the paper reminds me what I
Right,
see. Because
okay.
I'm like one of those weird people that needs information ahead of time, because then I drive and I'm like, oh, it like comes to me while I'm driving, it comes to me while I'm eating, it comes to me while I'm watching TV. Like once I know something about the photo shoot, if I don't have a date and I only have a name and I don't have anything about it, then my brain is like searching and searching, kind of like that spinning wheel on this computer screen, and I like can't land on anything. But if someone's like horse Monday Tom, I'm in.
Do you find that most people that you're shooting look for you for inspiration, or do they kind of come with an idea?
Their own ideas, yeah.
I would say almost all the time people don't have an idea, because when you shoot people who are shot all the time, they are actually there to get out. Like they're there to get the pictures because someone told them they needed to and then get out. So that part is sort of sad for me, because every day that I'm shooting, I'm like, let's create something.
Right.
And so people are so often like, all right, well, when's lunch and how do I get out of here and how do I give enough to make it good? But then once we're shooting, I find, and I might sound like I'm bragging about myself, but once I'm shooting, I guess they're realizing that I actually do care and that I actually do want to make something cool. And usually they're on board after a few minutes. And people like Tommy Lee are really awesome to do photo shoots with. Like I always think about him, like when you're having a good photo shoot, it's like playing a game of tennis, you know, you like, what about this? And then they throw back to you. And then if anybody is a tennis player, it's like the harder you hit it, the harder you can hit it back. So it's kind of a cool thing when someone is into it.
That's the most boss thing, I think.
Absolutely.
When you have that passion and other people, even though it may not be their passion, because you have a passion for it, they're in, you know, and that sounds like exactly what you give to these photo shoots as well. As your talent.
That's I'm awesome. All in. I mean, most days I have to pee about 30 times a day.
Oh, welcome to my life, girl. And I have to go right now. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of.
No, but and so that's my radar. Like I eat and pee all day long those days. When I'm shooting, I don't have to pee. I don't have to eat. It's like a weird like zone that I'm in.
Really? I get that. I get that too. Sometimes I'm like sitting at my desk at work and it'll be 5 hours later and I look up. I'm like, I haven't gotten up once.
I think it's just when you're stuck doing what you love, you don't think about that.
Like the basic
why
thing
would I
of
want
going
to
to stop doing this to go to the bathroom?
Eat,
That would be boring.
I go to the bathroom all the time, but then when I'm at Victoria's Secret folding panties for 5 hours, I'm like, why couldn't I go to the bathroom now? I would love to have a break from this. But, you know, nature wasn't calling. So, but I do want to talk about some of the celebrities that you've shot, because it just sounds so incredible. Like, we listed some of your favorites, but like, what was your favorite and what inspiration came to you while you were shooting them?
And why were they your favorite?
Well, so there was some day that Christina Aguilera, I think I got in there from accident. I think like some really awesome photographer was headed to her house and had to change plans, and I got in there. And it was at her house for a personal project. And it was so fun because that girl is sexy and she knows how to work the camera, and it was for her. So then she was really into it too, and I just like, we kept shooting. I don't even know how long but I don't even think it was that long, but it was so fun to me because I love shooting sexy and I love shooting someone who knows what to do with it. Right. So it was really fun. And then I also, on the back of my mind, was like, this is like, I idolize this person. I listen to her CDs all the time. Dating myself, it was when we were listening to CDs. But so those are like the days where I'm like, I'm pinching myself because I am shooting somebody that before I walk through the door, my heart's beating super fast. And then I get in there and it's just like this artistic vibe where you're just like, let's do that, let's do this. And then everything I suggest, she does it back better, which goes back to the tennis thing. And then for me, like, shooting Kanye West was actually one of my better days. And the reason why is because I proved to myself that day that I had confidence, because he showed up with like maybe 9 guys, all of them bigger than I was, way bigger. And they stood behind me in this line, and it was like they all had their arms crossed. Not one single one of them was there to make the shoot better. Like, they were all there to have their boys back, which I do get, but it wasn't having my back. I'm like, y'all are sucking me dry with your like dry vibe back here.
Totally.
Like, so I take the first picture of him and show him the back of the camera, and he goes, some people know how to light me and some people don't. And I think this is one of those days where you don't. And by the way, I answered him really honestly.
Hell no.
By the way, by the end of the shoot, I was like, I love Kanye. To this day, I love Kanye.
Okay, that was my question. That was the question. I want to ask all the Kanye questions.
I think he was testing me because I answered honestly, which isn't always easy to do at those moments, because your brain starts going, how do I fix this? And I guess my brain was like, don't bother to fix it. Just say what's on your mind. And I was like, I think you look really fucking good and I want to shoot it. Am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah, you can totally cussed.
And he goes, all right, let's try it. And I was like, cool. And for the rest of the day, I wasn't bothered by his people behind me, and I wasn't intimidated by him. And he obviously gave in because I thought we got cool shots. And by the end of the day, he was like showing me a video that he directed on his laptop that wasn't out yet. And I've always liked him. He has like fashion sense. He knows what he likes. I'm not going to say I like everything he said over the years.
Right. Yeah. So this was like early on?
Yeah, this was earlier.
So did he come, because he seems like one of those artists that always has concepts and ideas. Did he come with a lot of ideas to the shoot?
He came with a lot of ideas about his fashion. Yeah. And I'm all good with that. I mean, I like it when somebody knows who they are and knows what they like and don't like. And thankfully for me, it wasn't on me to hire the stylist. Right. He came with his own stylist. He came... or somebody from the magazine hired a stylist or whatever it was. But so that responsibility wasn't on me, so I didn't even have to think about it. But yeah, he knew exactly what he wanted to wear, and so that was his concept.
I couldn't even imagine. Like,
when you win over Kanye, I mean, really, the definition of what we're talking about on this podcast and what we're trying to do, you have, you talk about the intimidation and you talk about overcoming that intimidation, and it is hard especially when you're a woman and you have a line of guys trying to intimidate you with the arms crossed and the vibe and the just the tough for what
I think a lot of times people show up to my shoots with two categories. One is they're already trusting me and they're excited to be there, and the other is prove yourself. So I think for the half that are prove yourself, it's not always because they're big. Sometimes that's just who they are as people, and they're not going to give it up right away. And so I think that by that point I'd already been shooting long enough to know that sometimes you just have to win people over, and that's just the way life goes, and you have to do it your way, otherwise it's not sincere. And I think that is the one thing I will credit almost every A-lister that I've shot, whether they were at the beginning of their career already an A-lister, they all had a bullshit radar. They all knew, I think, that they let me in. They let me take good photographs of them. They were willing to be there a little extra long or whatever the time, whatever it was. I think they could tell that I cared about who they were and bringing who they were into the photo, as opposed to just, getting the paycheck, or as opposed to just bragging, or I don't know what the other options are, but I think that most of them had bullshit radars because they would give the makeup artist trouble and not me. They would give, the editor trouble and not me. And so on some level, I assume that's a trust.
Yeah.
It
says a lot about you.
I dig that.
Totally.
Well, my honesty is like my best and my worst thing.
I get that.
It will bury me and it will send me to heaven.
Right.
Well, I want you to get honest about something. So you said that when you had started in photography, the equipment was really expensive. Now the prices are lower. Everyone is a quote-unquote photographer. Instagram blew up. That is where most people showcase their portfolio. Very easily accessible. How do you feel like Instagram has changed your game?
Instagram took away most of my game because people don't, the magazines were folding right and left, and I used to make a ton of money, thank goodness, on shooting beautiful women, but they can shoot themselves now. Yeah. So Instagram took away my game, and I had to find other ways of making a game. So I could shoot people all day long if I wanted to shoot for almost nothing or for free. But there's an ego involved once you get to a certain place where you're like, but there's a difference between me and somebody who's 18 with an iPhone. There is a difference. And some people who are 18 with an iPhone, I'm sure, do beautiful work. But most of the time, that doesn't make you a photographer.
Totally.
But these days, especially with whatever portrait thing people keep pissing me off with, I have the new portrait filter.
I was going to ask you about filters.
Mode,
Well, it just seems like the magic is being taken away a little bit, and there's a bitterness that comes up, at least in my world, when I look at some pictures or think about it. But I spent a year being bitter, and then spent a year being like, I don't want to be a bitter chick. So let me just rethink this. Let me just go with other ways. Let me just find other avenues. So now, Instagram took away, I think, a lot of people's photography income of shooting for magazines and shooting celebrities and shooting sexy girls and all that. I can't be the only one whose income took a huge dip on that. But there's still a lot of people out there that need actual decent photography. There's still a lot of people out there that like it as an art. There's still a lot of people out there that, you can't really sell a beautiful BMW with like an iPhone photo, right? They're still paying those. I don't know how to shoot BMW, by the way. I'm like, unless they want me to take it with sunlight. But the beautiful work that goes into advertising or goes into a portrait, like a portrait doesn't get taken with an iPhone. There's immediately the iPhone these days, people are so comfortable with it versus a camera, which still makes people kind of do that little body twerk. So there's something to be said for having a rapport and setting it up and making it a photo shoot that still gives you a portrait that like an iPhone snapshot doesn't.
And I've also heard through the grapevine that iPhone images don't get as many likes as like a professional quality photo. I don't know if it's something about the algorithm of Instagram, but either way, your photos, when they go up, are going to get more likes than an iPhone photo. So
I totally disagree.
You think so?
Yeah.
Really?
I thought I read that somewhere.
I think that in general, it might just be who I follow and the info I'm receiving because I'm tuned into it. I think in general, if you're a celebrity, it doesn't matter what is being shot. People are following you and liking you, and I do think that celebrities need to have professional photos on there along with their own fun stuff. Yeah. Because I think it shows a sign of like success, I think, when you use professional photography. It's just my own personal opinion to keep my own life going. But I also think that if you have a very consistent style for a while, if you're a hot person and you always put up shots, selfies of yourself being a hot person, you're ending up with a lot of followers and a lot of likes because people know you for that and they follow you for that. Right. I'm not that girl. Like everything I shoot's a little bit different. One day it's like my kids playing at the beach. Another day it's like, it's something from 1998 that I just found in my archives. Another day it's like trying to make art. Another day I shoot myself in the foot all the time by not being like, pick a path and stick to it. But I can't. Yeah. It would take the fun out of it for me. And it's not like, maybe other people do. I don't get job calls every day from Instagram. I get a lot of like your pictures on, messaging. Yeah. But I don't get a lot of job offers from Instagram, so I stopped trying to cater to Instagram. Personally.
What would you say to someone that is an aspiring photographer and they're really inspired by your story? What kind of advice would you give them to start off?
When people ask now what my advice is, I guess my advice is try to get good and try to pick something that you do want to do that's relatively consistent. I think that you have a better chance of being hired if you have a fairly narrow focus on what you shoot, which I don't follow my own advice, but that's what I would give to somebody else.
So more like niche, like have like a brand.
Bit. Okay. Like I shoot beauty shots. So if you come to me, you're going to have a really pretty shot of your neck and your head, period. You're going to have makeup on. It's going to be in the studio, period. Right. They probably have a much faster track of success than somebody like me who just shoots too much different stuff.
So piggybacking off of that, speaking of niches, is there a type of photography that you haven't gotten into that you would love to get into, even if it's just for fun?
No, actually. Because kind of like what I was just saying, I've always been like, I want to shoot that, so I'm going to go and shoot it. Yeah. That's one cool thing about photography that's not similar to like actors or whatever. I can find my own jobs, whether they're paid or not. I can always go and have a vision and execute it. I don't have to wait for a team. I don't have to wait for somebody else to want to share that with me. I can, my own work, I would want a model or I would want somebody, but somebody's always willing to get in front of the camera, right? So I don't really need to wait for other people. So for me, if I have no desire to learn how to shoot cars. I know I could make money at it, but that doesn't excite me, so I don't bother.
Yeah, you got to do what you love.
Got to do what you love.
Speaking of love, since we had talked about this earlier in the show, I wanted to make sure that we asked you because I feel like it's kind of interesting to hear a different boss perspective. Because you're freelancing and because you're hustling, how do you balance a personal life and your job?
I'm just really lucky. The other thing I got really lucky about in my life is I fell in love really young. And so it's never really been a thing. Like, it's not a thing for me to keep my relationship going. There's a whole bunch of history and, if I smile at my husband and we have sex and he sees that I'm trying in life and I see that him trying in life, it's good. We're good.
That's like, why, Lord, like help me like this when she just said that's what I want, please.
But I always tell people, like, the beauty of it was neither one of us were looking for each other when we found each
Amen to
other.
that.
That's the key.
Yeah, like there was we were 20, there was no desire to like settle down, and we didn't settle down for a long time. There was no desire to like become husband and wife. It was like, let's have fun. And so I think we were both at good places in our life in general.
Yeah.
It's always nice when that
That's the
happens.
key. Yeah.
Yeah, when they're not
That's beautiful.
filling that dark hole that we all have. I still have the dark hole sometimes in life, and I still expect him to fill it, and he can't. Like, that doesn't change whether you're single or married. You know,
Right.
Yeah.
Very
single
true.
or married, it's your own crap that brings you down, and your own self that has to pull you up.
Totally.
But you're doing amazing.
Yes.
And this was enlightening, I would say. I feel like we went into it not really knowing much about what you do besides the beautiful photographs that you take. And I think hopefully everybody has a better sense of what a photographer does and that it is such hard work because it really is. From an outsider's perspective, I feel like it's natural to you. You know, the camera is an extension of your arm. But for us,
Like, how did you get that shot?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
you know, and that's how we feel. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Aw, this
Thanks
is
for
great.
having
Yeah,
me.
absolutely.
It was so fun. It flew by.
Can you tell our listeners how we can find you on Instagram to see your pictures?
I will spell it for you. It's Brie Childers. It's Briechilders.
Love
I
it.
love that.
All right,
Well,
everyone, go follow her, and thanks so much.
Yeah.
We'll
Thank
see
you.
you.
Thank you.
Well,
See ya.
All right.
You'll hear us next week.
Yes.
Can't wait.
Bye-bye.
Can't wait.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Boss Please Pod. And don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe on iTunes. Navigate the path to your best self with us, because bossing together is always better.